The Endless Golf Podcast, brought to you by Toyota.
And welcome into another edition of the Endless Golf Podcast presented by Toyota. And joining me today is Greg Poulos from Gregory Poulos Photography. And Greg, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Good to be here, Bobby.
A little history between Greg and I. We're old friends, and we spent a lot of great times together. And I got to say, over the years, you always had your camera with you and shared some great moments. And I know photography has always been your passion. In just a few minutes, we're going to talk about your book, Moments. It's just a great coffee table book, a great book to have around the house. 25 years of Ocean City history, Greg. Pretty amazing.
It's been a long time. It went by quick.
It really did go by quick. But I tell you, more than the book, your family has a rich history here in Ocean City. And we want to talk about that first a little bit. We'll get back to the book in just a moment. Sure. And your photography career, because that just started recently. But you were always in the restaurant business. Your mom started out in the 50s here in Ocean City.
40s.
In the 40s. Wow. The 40s
right after the war.
Wow. And opened the first restaurant downtown Ocean City. Of course, that was the only thing that was there.
3rd Street at the Shore Motel.
Josie's and Maria's.
Josie and Maria's. Josie was my grandmother.
That's pretty amazing. And your mom is probably more known than you are, Greg. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
she had a great history here in Ocean City, and it all started at that restaurant.
She all started at that restaurant. My mom was, a teenager. And my grandmother, this is a time when women didn't really even work, much less open businesses. But my grandmother was an immigrant. She was a bootlegger during Prohibition. This is what they did to make money. And they were hustlers. So they heard of an opportunity in Ocean City. My grandmother pawned her rings and bought a case of tomatoes and some pasta and came down. Next thing she was in the restaurant business down here. And she stayed in the restaurant business on Caroline Street until the 70s. And in the meantime, my mother and my uncle opened the restaurant on 17th Street, which was North Ocean City at the time.
At the time, yeah.
And they were there for, through nightclub days and then restaurant days. We were at the Olive Tree until 2001 at 17th Street.
You had an amazing run, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we've got a great picture, an old picture of the old menu from Josie's and Maria's, and it kind of gives you a little hint of history. Look at the prices and then look at the phone number. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
3 digits.
3 digits.
There wasn't a whole lot going in. That had to be in the 50s, I'm thinking.
Well, I got to say too, your mom, when I worked the door at the Paddock nightclub back in 1982, they used to send me across the street to get change from your mom at the Electric Circus and American Graffiti back then.
Yep.
And I tell you what, it was pretty amazing. Your mom was sitting in that office, definitely a strong businesswoman. And you're right, back in those days, even before that, in the 70s and 80s, women running businesses was kind of unheard of in Ocean City, and she was kind of a trendsetter, that's for sure.
Yeah, actually, there were a lot of strong businesswomen in Ocean City. You think back in, Mrs. Connors and everything. But yeah, but it was a rarity. And she was a good businesswoman. But of course she was with my father. My uncle was he was actually the real spearhead, especially when it came to the nightclub and to the Olive Tree. Those were all his doing. So
well, let's talk about the nightclub a little bit, because it kind of goes back into the 80s, and what a run that was. You had 2 different clubs there, and they were rock and roll clubs. They weren't just your regular run-of-the-mill nightclubs. A lot of fun, and a lot of great bands came through there as well.
They did. Matter of fact, back when Turn It Overdrive, we didn't play there because it's coming this week. But anyway. It was a great run. And actually, we opened as a disco in '79. I just graduated from high school, and my first job was I played the lights. I looked at everybody, and that was my first job. And then after '79, disco was out, so it turned into a heavy metal nightclub, and I got a kick out of telling people my dear sweet mother runs a heavy metal nightclub.
You would have never guessed Maria Poulos would have owned a rock and roll nightclub as she was in the restaurant business, the Olive Tree, for all those years. But she did, and it was a very successful one as well. Yeah. And Greg, you had an interesting path. You mentioned you graduated from high school in '79. You shared some great memories. In high school, you went to Boys Latin in Baltimore, and then after graduation, you went on to the University of Miami, and then you did a semester at sea. What a great experience that was.
That was great. That was, you know, when I really, my love for photography really even more took hold. So, but yeah, went around the world, you know, to college on a boat, and started in Seattle and went west and went all the way around. And
I imagine you got some great pictures there.
Got some great pictures. I get better ones now. I got a little more experience under my belt now.
Well, it's pretty amazing. What a great experience that was. You come back to Ocean City, obviously run the Olive Tree restaurant for a number of years. You actually had the Soleil Grill, which I don't know if a lot of our viewers out there will remember that, but that was a great restaurant in North Ocean City on 27th Street, I believe, and that was an outstanding restaurant, and you worked your heart out for that. But every year he was in the restaurant business, he'd always say to me, my passion really is photography.
Yeah, and it always was. As a matter of fact, when I closed Soleil Grill, I went to Brooks Institute of Photography out in Santa Barbara, and and I learned a lot. You know, they really hold you to a much higher level than I was holding myself, and you learn how to be a photographer.
Well, it was amazing too over the years. You know, I would call you every now and then, or you call me, and I'd say, "Where are you, Greg?" And he's like, "I'm on the boardwalk. I'm taking pictures." And I can tell you, he has thousands and thousands of pictures of the town of Ocean City, and you know, whether it's sunrise, sunset, but mostly you really like to shoot people.
I'm a street photographer, you know, by heart. Of course, my business now is weddings and families on the beach, but I'm still, you know, my passion lies with street photography and that genre more than anything else, more than the sunrises and sunset. I love
Greg,
taking pictures of people.
Well, I tell you what, it's a great time to take a quick break. We'll come back, talk about Greg's photography career now and moving forward after this, so stay with us.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Toyota is moving toward a more sustainable future by giving you the freedom to choose from an incredible lineup of trucks, now available in both gas and hybrid models, including the legendary Tacoma and powerful Tundra, both available with the iForce Max hybrid powertrain, and backed by Toyota's legendary reputation for reliability. More choices, less compromise. Visit buyatoyota.com for a great deal on an efficient Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
And welcome back to the Endless Golf Podcast presented by Toyota. Staying with me from Gregory Poulos Photography is Greg Poulos. And Greg had an opportunity to talk about your journey early in your life in the restaurant business, obviously. Now we're on to your photography career, and what a great start to your career. Back in 2012, you created this gem, and it's called Moments. And there's photographs all the way back to mid to late 80s in here. And we talked about how much you love photography, and you're a street photographer. What was your inspiration for this book?
Well, you know, all the great photographers that came before. You know, I took my first photography class as a freshman in college back in 1980, and yeah, you know, you learn about Cartier-Bresson and Gary Winogrand and Robert Frank and of course now Vivian Maier, and you know, these people are the ones that inspire you, and that's why that genre came more naturally to me than other ones, than doing landscapes or all that. Not that I don't love Ansel Adams, but something about a Cartier-Bresson photograph, and that's, you know, who I wanted to kind of emulate, and those are the people I wanted to emulate.
You know, now it's good to note that this book is in black and white, and you've always been that type of photographer. You love the black and white, you know, kind of the feature of what you do in your photography.
I was, you know, it was back in the film days. I didn't have a whole lot of choice. You either had color, you had black and white. It wasn't digital, but this book is all from the film days, and going out with my little rangefinder camera and capture moments in Ocean City. I'd probably be a lot better book if I didn't work in the restaurant business so much.
Absolutely. You know, you spent a lot of time obviously in the restaurant, but you always made time for your photography. And when you talk about moments, what are some of your favorite moments that you've captured, not only with your camera, but also that you've seen out there? Because you've been out in Ocean City on the boardwalk a lot, and I know there's a lot of action on the boardwalk for sure.
You know, it's funny, we were talking about the 80s and how much fun it was, and how it was kind of the best decade.
The golden age,
It was
the golden age of
of
Ocean City.
and there was so much camaraderie, and of course, so my great memories were, they're like the canoe races
Right.
and the waiter waitress cup, and of course they had, the softball teams, but there was a real camaraderie, and it was fun. And of
Best
course,
body on the beach.
Best body on the beach, and of course these were the places I took a lot of pictures at, and I got a ton of best body pictures. I want to tend to post them, but I realize these are somebody's grandmother now, so I tend to, refrain.
Well, I tell you what, they probably love to see those old photographs.
Turn to
that's for
page
sure.
3.
I know we
there's
look better
one.
back in those photographs as well.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, there's
Yes,
some
we
there's
did.
some great pictures in this book, and Greg, this is just touching the surface of what you have. And again, it's a great book for your coffee table here in Ocean City or back to wherever
Pick it
you're
up
from.
at the Art League.
I'm sorry.
You order from me,
Order from Greg,
or
order from
they
the Art League.
have them at the Art League. as
Okay,
well.
great. And you have them at the Art League. And I know you do a lot of work with the town of Ocean City and with the Art League as well.
I do.
And you keep busy with your photography. Now, talk about what you're doing now with your photography besides creating images and doing your street photography.
So, 2012, I left Ocean City. I wanted to pursue my photography, so I went to Hawaii, moved to Maui, and was there trying to be a photographer, doing weddings and doing, families on the beach, and kind of what I do right here, right now. Somehow I got suckered back into the restaurant business for a while. And that's when I realized I really shouldn't be in the restaurant business anymore. So when I came back to Ocean City, take care of Mom, who was getting a little older, I needed a job. So I started the website. I was like, I got to do this. And of course, I had a lot of knowledge, and Brooks Institute really taught me a ton about lighting and things like that. And so the jump was not that hard, and it's turned into a great little business for me. I do families on the beach, busy all summer long, and then I do a lot of weddings, and always can do more though.
Well, being your friend, I can tell you, I might be a little biased when I say this, but the one thing about Greg is he really cares. He really loves his work, and he really cares about the people that he shoots the photography of and the families, and he knows how important that is to everyone that he photographs. So I can definitely say that he's done a great job. And one of the things I always thank him for, back in, we're both Ravens fans. We had season tickets. We sat next to each other for a long time. And back in 2000, when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, we went to Tampa for the Super Bowl. And after the week-long, celebration, we were down there for the game, and it was awesome. Greg put a little book together for all the guys that were on that trip, and it's still a great memory for us now. We look back at those pictures over the years and just have some great memories, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really what photography is all about. It really saves those memories. And, I can't tell you, everybody's got their phone now, which is great, because you can take more pictures and you have more access. But you know what? The problem is that they're on your phone. When you switch phones, you seem to lose them all the time.
That's why nothing better than a printed picture. And unfortunately, people keep deleting these great memories, and I don't like the way I look. I don't, 20 years, you're going to look, you're going to love the way you look, or go, what the hell was I thinking?
Exactly.
But some of those hairdos back in the 80s and stuff like that. But
yeah, you mentioned the 80s, and really that I got here in '82 in Ocean City, and that's when I met you and your mom, and it was that was a great run. I do think, to your point, there was a lot more camaraderie back then, and everybody knew everybody at each of the nightclubs. And one of the things I've talked to you about, I've been teetering on the fact of doing a reunion of the '80s, of all the workers and all the people that came down into all the clubs, and because everybody seemed to know each other. It was like one big party all summer long is really what it was, Greg.
It was one big party, and the summers lasted a lot longer than they last now.
I tell you what, I think the years lasted a lot longer back then as
sure.
well. So they've certainly flown by. Well, I can tell you this, Greg. It's always great catching up with you. You've done a great job
pleasure,
with your businesses.
That was good. Thanks so much. It was fun.
Congratulations on your book back in 2012. I've got one on my coffee table always, and it's just a great piece to have around the house, that's for sure. So thanks for stopping by today.
My pleasure. And GregoryPoulosPhotography.com. If you want to see my personal work, there's a tab for that too.
There you go. All right. Greg Poulos, for Greg Poulos, I'm Bobby Vermillion. We'll see you next time right here on the Endless Golf Podcast. So long, everybody.
The Endless Golf Podcast has been brought to you by Toyota.